2 times the job, 2 times the money. What's up, guy?
Guys, if you call back in about a half hour, you hear
I'm
me?
making a video.
You hear me? You
Video,
hear me?
a video doesn't take a half an
In a
hour.
half hour, I need my phone. I'm trying my friend. We gonna
No, we're not going to be talking.
talk. What I said? In a half hour, I need my phone back. I'm talking to my friend in a half hour.
What's wrong down with the apple on my phone? It's going down with the apple on my phone so I can do a video in peace. Jeez, why do I have to spam with pros? Hold on. Hold on, I'm doing something. Can you put it on the table for me, though? Thank you. Yeah, I'm about to go eat that food now before anything touches it.
Go get your lemonade.
Oh, where?
It's on the counter.
Alright. Thank you.
My friend ain't there.
Huh?
My friend ain't there.
Hold on. Nope. Guys, we're gonna hop on the YouTube in just a minute. Because we're gonna be having some get out of my car.
I always felt cheated having to leave her.
Get out of my car. Get out of my car.
Somebody is loving of my child. This is your home anyway, Claire. It's your real home.
You are at the hospital, Administration is right here.
I'm going
Get
to
in
the
there.
emergency room, sir.
Get in there.
Where-
Get out of my car now.
Where is my
Get out
destination?
of my car now.
I don't know where I am. I'm asking you where is my destination. If you would kindly point at where I am
pulled
supposed
into
to
your
go.
destination. It said here I was at your destination. It's over. Get out of my car now.
It said
Get out
1760.
of my car now.
Sir, it said.
Get out of my car now.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you won't fucking get out of my car.
But you're not to yell at me. You are not to yell at me.
9-1.
Do it. Do it. Do it. You are facing
Get
very.
out right fucking now.
You are facing.
Get out of my car. I'm facing a fucking moron. Get out. No.
You're facing.
No.
You have no right to scream at me.
I will fucking talk to you any goddamn way I want.
Really?
Yes, I fucking will. And I have the right.
Where am I?
You're at a hospital where
Where-
you need to be. Get out of my car. Oh. Can you get her out of my car, please?
Next one.
Administration is right here. I'm going to the emergency room, sir. Get out of my car now. Where is my out of my car now?
I don't know where I am. I'm asking you where is my destination. If you will kindly point at where I am.
Into your destination. It said here I was at your destination. It's over. Get out of my car now.
It said 17
Out of my car now.
Sir, it said
Get out of my car now.
why are you yelling at me?
Because you won't fucking get out of my car.
But you're not to yell at me. You are not to yell at me. Do it. Do it. Do it. You are facing
Get out right fucking now.
You are facing
Get out of my car. I'm facing a fucking moron. Get out. Now.
You're facing
Now.
You have no right to scream at me.
I will fucking talk to you any goddamn way I want.
Really?
Yes, I fucking will. And I have the right.
Where am I?
You're at a hospital. Where you need to be. Get out of my car. Can you get her out of my car, please? You are at the hospital. Administration is right here.
I'm going
Get
to
in
the
there.
emergency room, sir.
Get in there.
Where-
Get out of my car now.
Where is my
Get out of
destination?
my car now.
I don't know where I am. I'm asking you where is my destination. If you will kindly point
I
at where I am
pulled
supposed
into
to
your
go.
destination. It said here I was at your destination. It's over. Get out of my car now.
It said
Get out
1760.
of my car now.
Sir, it said.
Get out of my car now.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you won't fucking get out of my car.
But you're not to yell at me. You are not to yell at me.
9-1.
Do it. Do it. Do it. You are facing
Get out right fucking now.
You are facing
Get out of my car. I'm facing a fucking moron. Get out. Now.
You're facing You have no right to
Yes.
scream at me.
I will fucking talk to you any goddamn way I want.
Really?
Yes, I fucking will. And I have the right.
Where am I?
You're at a hospital where
Where-
you need to be. Get out of my car. Can you get her out of my car, please?
Tic-tackers, has it ever happened to you that you awake from a dream and your body does not respond? You are completely conscious about your surroundings and can even feel your bed sheets on you, but no matter how hard you try, you can't move a muscle. That would make anyone feel very anguished and distressed, right? This is a disorder medically known as sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis occurs between the states of deep slumber and wakefulness, a period when we are not completely awake yet. This can occur both when going to bed or when we try to wake up. And the cause is a connection failure between the mechanisms that provoke muscular relaxation when we are resting and the mechanisms that make us become alert once again when waking up. That is why during a sleep paralysis episode we are conscious but cannot move. An episode of sleep paralysis is usually short, and you gradually and slowly recover your mobility. However, during those unending moments, the feelings of being unable to move or even speak can produce so much distress in us we can even start hallucinating. The most common hallucination is feeling a presence around us, having the impression that there is someone else in the room or around the house, like an intruder or a thief. This obviously increases our distress and our urge to wake up as soon as possible. The hallucinations can even affect our senses, making us see figures between the shadows or making us hear weird noises or voices whispering. We could feel that our mattress is swallowing us, or we could feel pressure in our chest or around our neck, as if someone was choking us. Out of ignorance, this makes many people associate sleep paralysis with paranormal experiences, like ghostly apparitions or contact with supernatural beings. For instance, in the Middle Ages, people believed in the existence of incubi, demons who would attack people sleeping at night, having actual physical contact with them. Now, tic-tackers, if any of you has ever experienced sleep paralysis, then first of all, you have to remain calm and not worry. Sleep paralysis can be caused by different factors, such as having an irregular sleep schedule. For instance, working until very late at night, having jet lag, or just not having slept enough can cause an episode. Sleep paralysis is surprisingly natural and common, so much that most people have suffered an episode at least once in their lives. Whenever you're experiencing an actual episode of sleep paralysis, what's most important is to not get nervous and distressed. Remember that it is a temporary thing and that you are not in danger. During an episode, you can also try moving slowly some parts of your body, like your hands, your feet, and your eyelids. If you don't want to experience a sleep paralysis episode again, the solution is easy. Adopt healthy sleeping habits. This means going to bed and waking up at around the same time each day, sleeping enough hours, and avoiding long naps during the day. As you know, tic-tackers, resting well is pretty important, and not only to not feel like zombies the whole day, but to avoid bad experiences and nightmares such as having the feeling someone is stalking us and we can't do anything about it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And welcome to a new Scary Tuesday, tic-tackers. Or rather, a scary ritual, because this time around we bring you a new paranormal challenge that will surely make your blood run cold. If you were impressed by the card game, the window game, or the stairs game, then prepare to open a new door into the unknown with the closet game. This is also a creepypasta, even if it doesn't look like it. It's been circulating on the internet for years, but its exact origin is unknown. It was hosted at the Creepypasta Wiki for a while, but the page was mysteriously deleted in September 2015. And even if you've never heard about this ritual, we bet you know what is the evil entity that can be summoned through it. It's about the monster in the closet, a creature or a demon that appears in different cultures of the world. In Hispanic countries, the creature is referred to as the man with the bag, the cucuy, or the jumbi. In North America, it's known as the boogeyman, and in Germany, it's known as the Butzemann. When it's not hiding in the closet, it lurks under our beds. It feeds off our fear, and its objective is to punish those who have been naughty, kidnapping them to take them to its dark realm. What gives this being so much power is our natural fear of the dark and the unknown. Surely many of you have endured an entire night unable to sleep, checking that your closet is well closed and alert to everything happening around you. This game or challenge, like the other ones we've talked about, doesn't seem to have a goal or make any sense. As always, we don't recommend that you carry it out at all, as we are not sure about its efficacy. In any case, if you decided to go for it, keep in mind a very important warning. You will need to light a match inside the closet, so make sure there is enough space inside so you don't end up causing a fire. We would also recommend you have at hand a fire extinguisher or a bucket of water, just in case. As you can see, the monster is not the only danger you'll need to look out for. You'll need to carry out this ritual at night. You cannot perform it during the day, and your room must be completely dark. Make sure you close your curtains and turn off all of your lights. It's also recommended to disconnect all electronic devices so you can be in a quiet environment without distractions. Make sure that you're completely alone. Grab your box of matches and open your closet. Get in and close the door. Turn around so your back is facing the wall and sit still and in total silence for 2 minutes. Then, take one of the matches and grab it strongly in front of you. With complete calmness, recite the following conjuration. Show me the light or leave me in the darkness. Wait patiently in silence and listen to your surroundings very closely. If you suddenly start hearing unexplainable whispers, light a match immediately. It's important that you do it on time so you can be safe. If you take too long or don't manage to light your match, that dark being will grab you from the back and will drag you to a never-ending fall in a realm of darkness. Also, make sure to not let the closet get dark again, so light another match if your current one is consumed. Now, if you don't hear anything, it's crucial for you to not turn back, because that can also put you in danger. You will have to wait a little bit more in the dark, very still and in silence, until you make sure you're safe. Whether you heard whispers or not, you will have reached the end of the game, and that's when you have to carefully get out of the closet and close its door. Under no circumstances, turn around, do not look into the closet, and then turn on the lights immediately. In fact, after this ritual, your closet will never be the same again. We suggest that you never look inside it again unless all of your lights are on and it's perfectly bright inside. The ritual could have invoked a dark being that could now be haunting the closet. Many people who completed the game say that later on they perceived a strange activity in their closets, so now they make sure to always have it closed. And the ones who have left its door open at night claim to have seen 2 red points shining in the darkness, like the eyes of a demon lurking from the inside.
Blah.
It was 15 years ago. When I was 11 years old, I used to live with my uncle, who was 31 years old at the time. He took me away from my family, telling them how great I would be if I stayed with him in his farmhouse. Well, he actually had a really nice farmhouse. However, that was totally fake. He also had a big van that he used to kidnap kids in. He usually abducted lost kids, or the kids who were playing in the parks. Yeah, right. He was such a serious kidnapper and murderer. While he was tying up the children after the kidnapping, he ordered me to dig a hole for each one. Of course, I didn't want to do that. I was just horrified and scared of my uncle. One day, I stayed with the kids inside the basement to monitor them. Crying, they were begging to let them go. I could see that some of the kids were almost the same age as my age, so I untied them and let them sneak out by the back door so my uncle couldn't see them. He was in the kitchen, sharpening his knives. I returned to the kitchen, acting like nothing happened, but somehow, when he lifted his head, he noticed through the window that they were running away. He got mad, grabbed his gun, and then he ran out the door, trying to shoot them. I immediately ran with him, watching them, and hoping that they could manage it. And all of the kids succeeded to run away, fortunately. I could see that one of them even waved to me to say goodbye. My uncle told me not to worry, and that he'd get more kids the next morning. It seemed like that he was thinking that I was the one who was disappointed about the kids' escape, or whatever. The next morning, I woke up and figured out that he was not there. And all of a sudden, I heard a loud siren, and soon after, the police entered inside the farmhouse. They found me and asked me if I was one of those kids who was kidnapped by him. I couldn't lie to him. I always felt sorry for lots of kids who got kidnapped by him. So I told them that I was his nephew, and they took me with them for questioning. I was crying so badly when I confessed the truth about him to the police. It was the hardest moment that I had to give proof of my uncle's serious crime, because I loved him anyway, whether he's a criminal or not. But I knew this day would come, and actually, I was waiting for it. They didn't believe me at first, but I revealed the location of the holes to them. After digging, the police found bodies under the ground. At that time, my uncle got back to my mother's house, hugged her, and begged to stay for a while. However, the police had already told her about the incident and what had happened to me. So she told him he could stay, but as soon as he got to the bathroom to shower, she alerted Dad and they called the police. My uncle was arrested finally, and the police thanked me and told me that I was such a brave kid. They brought me back to my parents, and I could have a better life with them.
Okay, then
My
stop
uncle
giving
was
me it.
charged with kidnapping, murdering kids, and even showing me such terrible things that kids should not see. He was condemned to death, and not long after, finally hanged. My name is Jonathan. I live in an average apartment. There are main roads via my apartment, but there's also a shortcut too, which makes it faster to go to one of my friends, Nick's house. However, the weird thing was that nobody uses the road. I didn't know until I saw something on it that very day. One day, I went to visit Nick as usual. We played some kinds of games together in his house, having snacks. The outside had become dark, and when I looked at the time, it was almost 10 p.m. Then my mom called me to get back home as soon as possible. She seemed like she got mad, so I packed my stuff quickly. I got out of my friend's house, walked for like 2 minutes, and then I decided to walk through that shortcut lane this time. Because it was completely dark, it gave me a chill, but I was in a rush, so I lighted my phone's flash and walked through the road. It was a straight road, and all the leaves and bushes were on the two sides. And the next moment became the most terrible memory for my entire life. While I was walking alone, my phone's battery suddenly died. Holy crap, I mumbled to myself, but at that moment, I was so freaked out. I made my pace quicker when I heard someone's footsteps. When I looked up, there was a figure in front of me that was almost black and invisible. All lampposts in that road were broken except 2 of them. But those 2 lampposts were flickering continuously, and the figure was slowly walking closer to my side. When the light fell on his face, I could see him, full of scars on his face. He had a cut in his throat, and the blood is falling out of his cut. I tried to ask him if he needed any help, but then he put his hand on top of his head slowly, and he picked it up. I could see his head was dividing from his body, and he was just standing there, holding his head in one hand and looking straight into my eyes. I couldn't even move because I was so terrified at that moment. All of a sudden, his head was laughing loudly and gave a shriek loudly at the very next. I stepped back, and then he came in front of me again with big strides. This time, I could see those 2 lampposts which were flickering above him all went out, and I don't remember anything after that. The next morning when I woke up, I was in a hospital. It turned out that some guy who was jogging around found me unconscious on that road. My mother was sitting next to me with an anxious look, so I told her my entire experience. When I finished telling her, she seemed a little surprised, and then she patted my back. She told me that there was a man who was murdered and beheaded by some gang members on that road a few years ago, but the police could neither find his head nor the criminal. Since then, lots of people saw the same stuff as me, so they stopped using that road. Even now, whenever I go to my home, I still ignore that frightening road and take another long path. It would always make my heart sink just thinking about that incident itself. My name is Alan, and this happened a year ago. I was at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and about to check in, going to Dubai. I was standing in the line to check in when I noticed that someone was staring at me. It was a girl. She seemed like an ordinary girl at first, but then I noticed that her eyes were odd. They were open, very wide. She was smiling at me, but her smile was kind of annoying and crooked. I got creeped out, so after I was finished checking in, I quickly went through immigration and headed to the flight gates. Before going to the gates, I stopped at the restroom, and while I was urinating there, I could hear someone faintly whispering outside. I could tell that it was a girl's voice. When I finally walked outside, I encountered the same girl who I had met at the check-in line. She was just standing there. But then, I saw scissors in her pocket. I quickly pushed her, ran away, and hid from her for a while. 30 minutes later, I barely arrived at the gate. And guess who arrived at the gate? Right, the same girl was there again. She was literally stalking me the whole time. Right then, I was terrified. So when we started boarding, I made sure that I didn't make eye contact with her at all. Fortunately, my seat was apart from hers. So at least I felt a little relieved during the flight. But this story didn't end there. When I arrived in Dubai, I quickly got out of the airport and headed to the currency exchange counter. While I was exchanging my money, I looked around several times, but there was no sign of her anywhere. I quickly grabbed my money, but the moment I turned around, my heart dropped. The same girl whom I'd met at the airport was there. She was staring at me, holding scissors. But this time, she started twitching bizarrely. Her smile became bigger and even scarier, and she was walking toward me, closer and closer. It was almost 2 a.m., and there was nobody else around in that area. I had no choice but to run, so I dashed quickly away and started searching for a taxi to get to the train station. Just then, I realized that the girl started to speed up to chase after me. Luckily, I narrowly found one taxi, and when I got in, it was a sigh of relief. When I glanced out the back window, the girl was standing there and was staring straight into my eyes. After 2 weeks, I went back to Manila. Of course, I didn't see her anymore after that night. However, the memory of that girl has been haunting me to this day. I haven't been able to forget her face.
No. You care about your child.
This is about a dream I had when I was in middle school. In my dream, I was standing in a huge empty space with other people, and I could see the dim light from afar. In fact, behind us, there were some strange people coming after us. They were chasing after us, walking on all fours, catching and eating people. Each person ran quickly towards the light. I was frightened by those strange beings chasing me from behind, but for some reason I couldn't move my legs to run. However, at one point, I suddenly realized it was a dream and felt at ease. It's a dream. I was standing there, and at that moment, a man in his 30s who was running just stopped next to me. "Are you dreaming too?" The moment the man spoke to me, I got goosebumps. How could it be possible to meet another person in a dream? While we were standing still looking at each other, the people behind us suddenly attacked us. At that moment, I woke up screaming. In my whole 26 years of existence, I only have one dream that I vividly remember. It's about a nightmare that I had when I was in the 8th grade. Although I can't remember the whole story, the last moment still gives me a chill to this day. So I was being chased by someone on a mountain along with some other guy in this dream. I could feel how I was gasping for air and the pain on both of my legs. I was about to give up on running. However, all of a sudden, the man suddenly grabbed my shoulder and told me to run away and live. Furthermore, he already knew my name. That was the weirdest moment. As soon as he finished what he was saying, the man who was chasing after us appeared from behind and smashed his head in heavily. And that's when I woke up. Being afraid, I noticed that I had been bleeding on both sides of my nose when I woke up. It was about 5 a.m. I woke up my mom and talked about the dream. I know that it was just a dream, but I kept feeling uncomfortable. So I told my family to be careful. To my surprise, I heard that my uncle died the next day. He just died abruptly, even though he wasn't sick at all. At that moment, when I heard that from my dad, I got goosebumps. Well, of course, it's just a coincidence, but who knows? This story is about the creepiest dream I've ever had. In my dream, I was in middle school and inside of a classroom. All of a sudden, I noticed that my classmates were rambling on. They said that demons had invaded our school and that they could change into humans, like monsters from one of those Korean horror movies. Some of my friends were gathering around each other, putting their heads together to come up with a plan. They wanted to figure out a way to exorcise the demons. All the doors were locked. I was standing in the classroom with an anxious look on my face. However, the moment they suddenly knocked was the moment I realized that I was dreaming. Hey, isn't this a dream? It's just a dream. When I asked them while laughing, they all turned around and looked at me with empty eyes. And then I couldn't believe what I heard. You might be, but we are not. That was the last memory. A few years ago, my mom, my younger sister, and I went out for dinner at a local restaurant one night. As we were walking on the sidewalk towards the restaurant, I noticed a man walking towards us from the opposite direction. Well, I can say that this was normal, but there was sort of a creepy vibe about him. He looked like he was in his mid-50s. He was tall and had a dirty beard. He was also bald. Anyway, we walked inside the restaurant, and the waiter led us to a table. Then, a few minutes later, the same man from the sidewalk walked in and sat at a table close to ours, which was so uncomfortable. I thought this was weird, but when our meals came out, I just swept away any doubts about him. While we were eating, I noticed that he was staring at me the whole time. I tried to ignore him. When my sister and I were almost finished eating, the waiter came up to us and said to my mom, "Ma'am, don't worry, your bill has been paid." My mom was confused and asked him what he meant, and he said that the man who was sitting next to our table had offered to pay the bill for us. Although this was a cheap restaurant, my mom refused the offer and explained that she was creeped out by that man. The waiter soon nodded and went to go get our bill. When he left, the man slowly walked towards us, opened a strange duffel bag he was carrying, and pulled out 2 stuffed animals. The shapes of the stuffed animals were totally crushed, and I didn't realize that it was an animal at first. It was the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in my life. My heart started beating faster when he came over to our table and gave the stuffed animals to me and my sister. Being a 5-year-old girl, my sister was going to say yes, but my mom and I both interrupted and refused. Then the man didn't say a word. He walked back to his table and sat down. After the waiter came back with our bill, my mom explained what just happened. The waiter said that the man paid for his meal, so it wasn't possible to kick him out. However, the waiter said that he would follow us out of the restaurant to make sure everything was okay. Later that night, when we came back home, I tried to fall asleep, but it was hard to close my eyes because I was still feeling uncomfortable. I just laid there, and when I looked at the clock, it was around 2 a.m. All of a sudden, I heard someone walking outside my window. It was the fall season, so all the dead leaves would make loud crunching sounds whenever someone walked on them. At first, I assumed that it might have been some type of animal. However, I abruptly remembered the man from the restaurant and began to feel scared. The sound of footsteps was getting closer, and I shut my eyes as tight as I possibly could. Knock, knock, knock. I heard someone knock on my window 3 times. Slowly, I froze. I knew that it was a red flag and that I shouldn't open my eyes. But I opened my eyes cautiously. Then my heart dropped. The man at the restaurant was peeking through my window. With his glaring eyes, his eyes were fixed on me and looked me up and down. I couldn't scream at all. I just laid there, praying that it must be a dream. However, he didn't do any harm to me. He just stood there watching me and then walked away after a while. I didn't get any sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I explained to my mom what happened yesterday, and she called the police right away. However, although the police searched all over the area, they couldn't find him. They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted, but I'll never forget that night. They couldn't find him. They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted, but I'll never forget that night.
My name is Eric. I'm 31 years old, as well as a single dad living in a 1-story house with my son, named Alex. It all started the night before Christmas, when Alex was 5 years old. Alex was so excited, so we decided to go for a walk around our town.
Because?
We were walking down our road listening to the sound of carolers in the distance. That led us all the way down to the main street. When we came face to face with the 3 old women singing, I took out my phone trying to record a story for my Instagram, just like other people around us. When I looked down, I saw my son covering his ears. I stopped recording, crouched down, and asked him what was wrong, but he didn't answer. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the middle woman of the 3 carolers was giving my son an evil grin with a large, creepy smile. She seemed a little bit weird. Well, it was a chilly December night, so I decided we would head back anyway. When we reached home, my son looked relieved. So I thought he just wanted to go watch TV and catch up on his episode he thought that he might miss. Later, as I was cooking in the kitchen, I took a glance at my son. And I could see that he looked absolutely terrified. He was sitting straight up on the couch, which faced the TV. There was a large window next to the couch that had the curtains slightly open. Then he sprinted up quickly, ran to me, and just hugged my leg. "Daddy, she's here," he told me with a shivering voice. And I replied, "Who?" He exclaimed back, "The middle woman we saw when we watched the caroling." I quickly looked at the window, and there really was that old lady we saw not too long ago. I closed my eyes for about 1 second, and when I opened my eyes again, she completely vanished. Being freaked out, I called 911 naturally, telling them about what had just happened. There were 3 cops that showed up, so I explained the incident to them again, and one of the cops showed me a photograph that looked kind of old to me. She was in there. Then she pointed to that old lady, asking if this was her, and I answered yes. She started laughing. My son looked confused until I asked why she was laughing. She stopped and gave us a kind of serious look this time, but was still smiling. Then she said, "Hey, you know what? I know this is weird, but this woman died 3 years ago, on this exact same day." My heart dropped. That's when my son looked terrified too. I tried to calm him down, but I couldn't believe what was going on. The other 2 cops came inside and said they found no trace of anything while searching. It made no sense. When the cops had left our house, I put my son into his bed and went to my room. I turned the light on my nightstand that was close to the side, grabbed my phone, and decided to check Instagram, thinking that if I could find anything, I would just call the cops back. I opened my story, and to my surprise, I couldn't find that old lady in there. I checked another story, and then checked another again. But in fact, it was just 2 women there singing. Feeling mixed emotions like scared, mad, and even more, stupid, I started checking some other people's stories from around my neighborhood. And still, she wasn't there. But all of a sudden, I realized something. When I was checking some story feeds, I ran into one story of some woman who was standing right next to me during the caroling. Where my son and I should have been standing was replaced by nothing. It was like we weren't even there from the beginning. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I put a hand over my mouth and couldn't say anything. That night, that Christmas day became the most terrible moment for us. Well, I'm 33 now, and my son is now 7 years old. But even if everybody thinks that it doesn't sound true at all, we both still remember it like it was yesterday.
My name is Samantha. I'm just a regular woman with a husband and 2 kids. I met my husband at the high school we both attended, and we got married after graduation. I got pregnant shortly after, and had to get a cesarean section during my delivery. Luckily, both babies and I are in good health. We have been living a happy life. However, something creepy happened to me a few days ago. Well, Kate became crazy. Kate was one of my best friends since high school, and I've always known her to be a nice, shy, and pretty quiet girl. A few weeks ago, we had our school reunion. I met my classmates again after about 10 years since graduation. Everything went fine, and we had a good time until Kate joined us. When she came in, she looked like she hadn't slept in several weeks and smelled really bad. Everyone just stood there, frozen, until Kate took out a knife from her pocket. Everyone screamed, and then she ran towards my direction. "Samantha, you'll die for what you did to me." All of a sudden, the police entered through the big glass sliding door and jumped on Kate. The chills hit me as she growled like a dog. Then the police said that she had some kind of mental problem and just escaped from a mental asylum a few hours ago. I had no idea what was wrong with her, and I was just wondering what had happened to her. And I felt really sorry for her because she had changed so much. A few days later, someone called me on my phone. It was an old lady claiming that she was a nurse at the local mental asylum. She wanted to talk to me about something related to Kate. Since I had nothing to do, I decided to visit the asylum. As soon as I got there, the old lady greeted me, and she guided me into a room divided by a window, like the meeting rooms in jails. On the other side, there she was, Kate. She was tied up to a chair. I could hear her continuously mumble. Then the old woman walked in and said, "She is here, sweetie." As Kate slowly looked up and into my eyes, she started to scream at me with wide open and bloody big eyes. "They are mine. You stole them. You must suffer for it." I didn't understand what was happening. What was Kate talking about? Then the old lady returned next to me and said, "Miss Samantha, you have a husband and 2 kids, right?" I nodded. Old lady returned next to me and said, "Miss Samantha, you have a husband and 2 kids, right?" I nodded. She sighed and then whispered, "Well, I have to say this. One of them is not yours." My heart sank as she continued. "You said that you had a cesarean section before, but half of your memory is not true. One boy is her kid. To be more specific, he's Kate and your husband's son. Just after she gave birth, she got a huge shock and threw her baby to the ground, which eventually made the workers in the hospital suspect that she was not stable. That's why she has been in this room since that very day, except for a few days ago, when she escaped to the reunion, back to the kids. Since Kate was locked in this place,